A very good afternoon to you. For those that are in Scotland, England, and some few other countries like Nigeria and some parts of Africa. And of course, if you are in the United States and you're watching us, that will be a good morning at your end. My name is Samuel Oludare Yerokon, right here on OY Media Scotland. Remember, today you will be on with your host, that is Wura Ogorotimi, on understanding Scottish social works. I'm sure she's fully prepared for you today. Immediately after our program, we'll be having a short music from Bola Mighty, and we've captioned that under this celebrating hard work and sources. After that short interlude, you will be right on to Interlude Yoruba. Remember, the one for Saturdays is a repeat of the one of Sunday. So a new one will come out tomorrow. But for those of you that missed last Sunday's version, you'll be right on immediately after the short interlude. And after Interlude Yoruba, we will be on to another interlude, which will take us to the end of the program for today. And thereon, you will be having Jegede Sekere, another wonderful artist all the way from home. Stay on with us.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Wura Ogorotimi. I'm your host for today. So we'll be talking about understanding Scottish social work system. Today we will be looking at. So we're already looking at the different well-being web. We've looked at SAVE. So today we'll be looking at the next web, which is health, and we'll be talking about it extensively, hopefully over the next few weeks, and then we'll get into the next one. So just to wish you happy Mother's Day in advance, and happy Women's Day last week on the 8th. So welcome on board. So today, without wasting your time longer, we will be talking about health. So in a recap, we spoke extensively about the first well-being, which is SAVE. And so under SAVE, we talked about things to look out for, how safety is being measured, how to keep our children safe at home, the things that could compromise safety, both at home, at school, or in public place. So today, moving forward, we're going straight to health. Now, the question might be, why is health important? Now, the health of a child is very important to the well-being of any child, the growth and developmental stage of every child. And under SAVE, under the health, we're not just looking at physical or medical health of the child. So usually we look at mental health, we look at physical health of the child, we look at emotional health of the child, psychological health of the child. So I'm not going to bore you with all the long long grammars around health. So I think the first thing is so the medical health. Obviously, I'm not a medical person, but it's just understanding that our children are healthy. So how do we know that the kids are healthy? They're meeting all their developmental milestones. So, when a baby is born, there's a time and stage where once a child is born, the child is very tiny, dependent on mommy and daddy for feed, whatever it is. Then gradually, obviously, the child has to poo, the child has to pee. Sorry, I'm not using a bit of gooey words today, but that's what it is. So obviously, if a child is not pooing or peeing, it means the child is constipated or something. You reach out to the doctor. Now, at that stage, obviously, When a baby is born, you expect there's a time that the baby would sit, there's a time that the baby would crawl, there's a time that the baby would stand. You know, the weight of the baby, the kind of food the baby eats, is the baby breastfeeding. You know, those are things that you'll be supported with your health visitor. Obviously, I'm speaking from the angle of Scotland and United Kingdom. It's just something that cuts across. So we have the health visitor who will be in the life of the child after 14 days, in which mom would have come back home with the baby. So with your health visitor, you know, they'll come and visit. Now, what do they look for most times? I think one of the things they look at is how is mommy bonding with the baby? And then they look at if mom is breastfeeding, you know, how is she breastfeeding? Is the milk pumping properly? You know, how is the sleeping pattern at home? Because obviously a newborn baby changes your lifestyle, really, in the sense, not in a bad way, you know, in the sense that, you know, your sleep, you know, might not be the same because you can't afford to sleep so deep because you've got a little child to watch over. You've got a vulnerable person, you know, in your midst to watch over. Then also they look at the support system that you have around you. So do you have maybe, for those of us obviously who are far away from home here, so it might be that we have friends and families around us, not too far from us, that we can always reach out for help. It could be that some of us, of course, as Africans, most times we tend to bring our parents to come join us, our mom particularly, towards the time of child when the baby is almost due. So you find that sometimes mommy would fly in, you know, to come join. A grandmom would fly in to come join the parents to help, you know, to help and support them in that initial stage. Now, I wouldn't dwell so much on that because I'm not a medical person. You know, we might probably try and get a health visitor to come in. I would try and reach out to a couple of health visitors that I know to try and come in, and maybe they could talk to us about that, because I think that might be very important for us to know. Now, moving forward, obviously the child gets to the age where the child is ready for nursery. So we're looking at the food of the child. You know, is the child feeding well? Is the nutrition balanced? You know, is a special need? Has the child been discovered to have a special need? Because I suppose those of us who have kids here, you would have noticed that, you know, when you have a baby, there's immunization, there's different tests. In short, at the very early stage of the child's birth, you know, you would have had blood taken, and, you know, different tests would have been done, you know, to establish if there is any generational, like, if there's any health things that you need to know, you know, those nitty gritty of health. Again, I'm not a medical person, so I wouldn't want to dwell so much on that particular bit. But going forward, the eating pattern of the child, you know, what is it like? Is it healthy eating? You know, if it's not healthy eating, or if the parents think they need help. You know, some children are quite fussy eater. It might not necessarily be that the children do not like food. It might just be they need extra prompting. You know, some children, again, they struggle with maybe potty training. Some parents do struggle with that. And it's not abnormal. I have to be honest. It's not abnormal for the children to struggle with potty training. But however, there's a particular age the child gets to. You know, say a child of 9, 10, you know, is still bedwetting. Then for those who have little children, you will notice that in school, we have the school nurses. So the school nurse is just the thing that the parents will speak to the school nurse, and the school nurse will work closely with the parents in supporting them to potty train the child. Some children still wear nappies, you know, to school because, you know, they still bedwet, or they have accidents. Well, when I say accident, I'm using, let me say it in a way we will understand. So, you know, like, it could be that the child will soil his or her panties, maybe pee or poo, you know. It's still early stages for those children. So, but obviously, if it continues up to a certain stage, it could be, sometimes the bedwetting is just something that happens naturally because we're all bedwet when we're all young. But then sometimes the bedwetting could be a sign of something else. It could be maybe due to health concerns. It could also maybe due to maybe there's something happening at home, right? So, for instance, for talking sake, it could be maybe there's domestic abuse. Maybe the child is witnessing abuse at home. It might not necessarily be to the child, but maybe mommy and daddy, maybe they're having maybe there's domestic abuse happening between mommy and daddy, that could impact on the child. And they could, the nurses, the school nurse obviously will pay more attention because they understand the age and stage and the medical angle around bedwetting. Now for then also in school, at the early stage, obviously, while children are in school, it could be that a child is a bit, most kids naturally they are quite energetic, and there's a difference between a child who is energetic and a child who is very hyper, right? So it could be that there are some signs there. So for instance, a child who is very energetic, right? You need to continually keep on their toes, encourage them to do more physical activities, do things that would tire them out. Children are naturally energetic anyway, but in this case, some children, maybe they struggle to concentrate in school. As a parent, or even in the school, they could, as a parent, if you notice that maybe your child is not so, maybe the child is struggling to engage, maybe like in teaching, or maybe even just little things, in order to, you never can tell what it could be, because sometimes things like ADHD, things like autism, sometimes are not picked up on time. So if you notice that your child is not maybe meeting a specific thing that they should be doing at their age and stage, you can always reach out to the school nurse, or even speak to school, speak to your GP, for instance, because it's not everybody who has a social worker in their life, really. Social work do not come into your life until things have happened. There's a referral that would lead to that. But in most cases, school can easily deal with that. So if you notice anything, say maybe for instance the way your children, because there are some children, the way they hold their pen, so their motor neuron system, the way they hold their pencils, it could be the way they assimilate information. It could be the way they articulate information. Some children, they might learn very slowly. Some children are, they just pick it up so easily. As a parent, pay so much observation into the children. And if there's anything you're not clear about, you can easily reach out to school or speak to your GP if you are concerned. Now, for parents between the age of children between the age of 0 to 5, obviously, you have the support of your health visitor, where you can, pay attention and discuss your concerns with your health visitor. To be fair, sometimes, after tests and everything, it could just be nothing, but then it keeps your mind at rest knowing that it's nothing. But sometimes it might be that they've done the test. It might be nothing at the time, but if it persists, as a parent, insist that you want more tests for the child. And in that case, school could adjust, like we have additional needs support workers in school who work very closely with children who have special needs. It might not necessarily be physical special needs. It might be so many other things. So there could be dyslexia there could be Asperger's, it could be ADHD, it could be autism, it could be anything, right? Again, I'm not a medical person, so I think at some point we probably would get the nurse, maybe we could get a pediatrician to come in, or we could get a health visitor to come join us, where we could have that intense discussion around what they look at, how they, what they look at when they're measuring health from the medical angle of children. But for But for us as social workers, obviously, we're looking at, so if a child, for instance, has got ADHD, or the child has been diagnosed to have a health disability or physical disability, or it could be learning disability, obviously you might need the aid of social workers in order to apply for funding or to get additional support with the family, in caring for these children. So in that case, as parents, what we need as social workers, we work closely with the parents. So you will be dealing with not necessarily the mainstream social workers. So you'll be dealing with the social workers the disability social worker. So they work specifically with people, with children living with disability, and they would look at package of care. It could be that they need respite in place for the children. So respite in that basis would be, say for instance, you know, the parents, obviously, as a child, if you have a child living with disability, the parents would, mainly they're the main carer, but obviously with a child with disability, the care might be so overwhelming for parents. So we have a respite system whereby the children could be cared for. It could be maybe cared for like few hours away from home, or it could just be that maybe the parents need someone that would come home and just support them for few hours, or maybe take that child out, you know, go out for whatever they need to go out and do, or it could even be the extra help, you know, in the household. And I'm just so obviously, as obviously for my own bit of social work, we won't be working with those type of children. Children with disability would, you know. So so obviously, before a child will be referred to the social work, to the disability department of social work, the health visitor would have probably been involved, because there will be a huge huge team of health care staffs around the child, around that particular child. And then quickly, away from the medical angle, it could also be, you know, we also look at the mental health of the children. So for instance, like those of us who are migrant, for instance, particularly those of us who are their children before coming over to the Western world, coming over to this country, some of our children, you know, when they move over here, we always identify that they adjust easily. But the question we should be asking ourselves is, are these children really adjusting easily like we think they are? You know, what is it like? What is migration like for the children who migrated with us? You know, are they in the same page as us? Are they in the same page as us, or are they doing everything that we need them to do? So before we go further, I would like us to take a break, and yeah, I'll come back to. We'll take a break for 5 minutes. Thank you. All right, welcome back. I'll be joining I have a guest, I think 2 ladies that will be joining me, and we will be having a discussion around, we'll be having a general discussion around health of children, you know, like just social work, what social work do in Scotland. Yeah. Hello.
Hi. Hi.
Hi. So, I believe we're going to be having are we having questions? Do you have questions for me?
Go on,
Yeah.
Yeah. When you talked of health, Wura, earlier, right away I thought of my son. I mean, I can only talk about my own life.
Okay.
So this tendency, because I'm so. I'm so worried that he doesn't have enough food and it wouldn't develop properly. So I just make sure all the time that he eats proper food. So, and you know that if there is this type of food they don't want, it could be like sometimes confrontational, or it could come with this type of sentences, or you forcing me. to eat what I want to eat. Our children growing up here, when they say you forcing me, right away, you're feeling like, oh my God, he's going to go and talk about it to school. And then they might send me a letter or they might call me, or why are you forcing him to eat? So can you please reassure me about this?
I hear your question, and I think that's a very good one to ask, because I think there's always been the thing around our fears of the way we express, on the way on how we express, on how we give expressions with regards things, right? Now, one thing I would say outrightly is social work cannot just turn up in your house because a child says, "Mommy forced me to eat." It doesn't work like that, right? And I think these are the minds, and it's very good. This question is a very good question, right? Because it raises a lot of fear that families do have, that parents do have, right? Particularly migrants, right? Because obviously, where we are coming in Nigeria or in Africa, where we're coming from, the approach of social work is completely different from what we have here. Social work is more of a nanny state here than what we have in Africa, where they are more of activists, where they are working in your side. Yes, here we are working with you. The only difference here is social work does not come into your life except there's a problem. Right? Now, relating it back to your own question, right? So you are a parent whose child is quite fussy, right, with eating. Now, one thing I would say is, depending on the age of the child. So if a child is between the age of 0 to 5, you have the health visitor who you could explore your concerns with, right? But one thing I know, and from my own experience, one thing I know with, and listening to families as well, because even the white families as well that we work with, they are not far away from this type of concerns, right? But the thing is, a lot of people, when health visitors are engaging with them, they don't know, a lot of people do not know the role of health visitor, right? Which makes it a bit tricky, because they just think health visitor just comes into the house. And when I'm saying this, I'm not just talking of blacks, I'm talking of even the host community, right? Even the whites in Scotland, the Asians. When health visitors come into the house, we just think, oh, they're there to come and measure our baby. They're there to come and carry our baby. And, they rock our baby, oh, they carry the baby. You don't even understand that when they carry the baby, it's an assessment, right? So, oh, our babies are lovely. So people don't necessarily engage. They don't use their health visitors as much as they should use them. They don't engage them as much as they should engage them. Now, for those people whose children are age 6 and above, up to 16, right? In school, you have what you call the school nurse, right? So a lot of parents as well, when you have concern with the child who is a fussy eater. Now, I can tell you for a fact, my own child, well, not now anymore. He used to be a fussy eater, right? Now he grubs my house. But he used to be a fussy eater when he was young and when he was really tiny. I think we got past that when he turned 16. Now, what it was for him, if he ate cornflakes today, we would go and buy all the cornflakes and put in the house. That evening, my son would not touch it again. Right? And he might not even go close to cornflakes again. Right? Now, I remember when he was young, I got into trouble with the doctors because I used to give him multivitamin. Because I just thought the more I gave him, the more he would eat. But he wasn't eating, right? It's just a fussy child. But obviously there was that fear. Oh my goodness, if they carry him, it will be very light. We get caught up in all of that, right? And so like children, we know the way kids put things across. So for instance, a child might say, oh, my mom made me to do it. It may not necessarily be. So it's for the person that the child is saying it to in school. If it's in school, it depends on where the child is saying it. You can't just hold the parents to what the child is saying. You need to engage the child to get a bigger picture of what that child is saying, right? So from the angle of social work, obviously, when things had, when say for instance, if a child goes to school and says, my mom forced me to eat, the next thing won't be go and call social workers. It doesn't work like that, right? So in school, we have what we call a protected adult in school. So that protected adult could be the child's guidance teacher. It could be the head teacher, right? Most head teachers are trained child protection officers, but the reality is everything is not child protection. It doesn't work not everything is a child protection case. Obviously, if a child comes to school and says, my mom forced me to eat, then the child now describes being tied to the floor or being restrained. That my mom forced me has changed. It's changing. It's no more my mom forced me as in the child just saying it loosely. But the child is now describing. So it is a case of my mom forced me, tied me to the chair. And I'm saying extreme, right? Or it could be my mom forced me by sitting on me, right? These are realities, right? I'm not saying it happens in the African communities alone, because sometimes because it's happening to us as a community, we assume that it's just us alone, right? Yeah. But it does happen in the host community as well. The same fear that parents have with the African families have with social workers. Over the time I've been working, I've also noticed that most white families, the Scottish white families, they also have that same fear. The only difference is because we are migrants, we assume that it's their system, they should know better. But the interesting thing is most people who come under the radar of social work a lot of times they have not had anything. They have not had any interaction with social work. So they don't understand how it works. It's only when we now get to them, we begin to not educate, but we begin to inform them of our role and why we are engaging with them. So back to your question, when your child is not feeding well, or maybe your child is a fussy eater like mine, I tell you what, it depends on his age. Maybe when they turn 16, they change. Because mine changed when it turned 16. Awesome. So what we could do is, for you could speak to you could speak to the school. You could even speak to your GP and, explore what it is. Because sometimes it could just be that maybe you just leave snacks. I remember with my son, I used to be told, just leave food. Why are you forcing yourself? Just put food, just leave it. And he would eat it. And truly, I would just cook and ignore. And then at night, we hear, like a thief at night. I will hear my kitchen. My kitchen there will be miracles happening in my kitchen. Miracles will be happening in my kitchen. And then in the morning when I wake up, it's like a fairy had visited my kitchen. You understand? So, but obviously now he's no more a fussy eater. He eats really well. Yeah. So I think all the vitamins I used for him when he was a baby is now working
now. Exactly. Because I had a similar situation with my second son. It was okay in size when I had him, but as time progressed, I discovered that he just didn't like to eat. So from the breastfeeding time, it was a problem. He just wouldn't eat, and because my head was also cutting. I was looking for a job then at that time, so I didn't have time to force over his not eating because I was more worried I didn't have a job. So I just took it along. It didn't bother me so much. I knew if I was just maybe around, I would come home and then my sister would say, "Oh, he hasn't eaten all day and he just took 2 spoons of this," and I would just say, "Well, what can we do?" And we forced him to take multivitamins and all that, like you said, but he wouldn't take. But I noticed that these children overgrow it kind of. Now he's the biggest of all my children, and he's the hungriest in the house. Just like he said,
Welcome to my world.
he's always eating.
My eats once a day, and the once a day, trust me, it is once a day eating.
My eats, and he loves sugar, and that's the part I'm trying to just get out of it. I think I was really, while you were talking, I was so appreciative of what social work does in Scotland. Because I had my kids back home in Nigeria. I bet if I had them here, especially with that my son, then I might have had more support. You know, but I didn't really have any support. But it wasn't a true concern to me then. He was a happy baby, even though he wasn't eating.
Yeah.
Baby that everybody wanted to reach out for whenever I took him out. He had plenty hair. He was small, but he was happy. And so that took over. He's not wanting to eat and his small stature. I saw all that social work does to getting it right for every child in that pie chart,
Yeah.
Different aspects of it, all to raise successful, responsible,
included,
confident, children. And I think that would be the dream. That's the dream of every child. Before I came to this country, and even when I came, maybe up until 2 years ago, I had really a negative, outlook of what social workers. I just felt that if a social worker came into your life, it was just the government trying to grab your child from you. So, but
yeah, I know a lot of people. Just to quickly point on that, I know a lot of people have that notion, right?
Yes.
But one thing I always say to people is taking the child away from home is a last result, right? And I'm not saying it because I'm a social worker, I'm saying it because that's what it is, right? There are some situations where children are taken away temporarily. But for a child to even be removed from the home, it has been proven beyond reasonable doubt, right?
Yeah.
And when I say beyond reasonable doubt, it's not the social worker who makes that decision. Because remember, we need to get legal binding for that to happen. So for instance, I can't just turn up in someone's home and go, oh, this house is very, very dirty, therefore I'm taking all the children. It doesn't work like that.
Mm.
We are bound by sessions. There are court sessions and all whatnot. Sorry, if you pin that, let me just quickly read it. Sorry. Unfortunately, it's sometimes. I thank you, the user for writing that. The person says, unfortunately, the situation is sometimes different here in some England schools. Lack of school community engagement. Some schools are fond of deliberately asking pupils a leading question of home situation. I think that's quite a good one. That's quite a good one to talk about. Obviously, I'm not saying good because they ask leading questions. But where the point is sometimes is, let me give a situation. Say before I became a social worker, right? When people report things to me, I go by emotions, right? But over time, when I started, even before I became a social worker, I take a step back to understand the context of what has happened, right? And what we tend to realize is, if I'm reporting a case to you, there's a saying in where I come from in Nigeria. They say if two people are fighting and you want to report to someone that will come and help you, you're not going to tell that person I'm guilty. You were going to say it in a way that will work in my favor, right? But then when we now look at the bigger picture, it could even be at a point that perhaps things did not work. I did something wrong. You understand? Now, for the leading question, I have to be very, very honest about it. Sometimes, because of lack of cultural competence, right? And when I say cultural competence, let me try and bring it down. because of the lack of our culture, because of the lack of understanding of our culture, right? A lot of times, questions are asked in a way that we don't understand it. So it's just like, for instance, in Nigeria, when you say, "Are you okay?" "Are you okay?" does not mean, how will I say it now? When you say, "Are you okay?" it's said loosely. It's not like here where they say, "Are you okay?" meaning, are you, what's wrong with you?
It's everything.
So it could be that for children, like in school, I don't know of England because I've not practiced in England and I've not lived in England to give that example. But I know one thing for a fact, that in school here, when concerns are raised, it has to meet a threshold, right? For social work. Social work is the last option. I know in England, social work is practiced differently, right? Now, when concerns are raised in school, the first thing they do is they look at meetings. There's something we call meetings around the child, whereby everybody in the life of the child, so it could be maybe the school nurse would come from the angle of health, right? The school teacher will come. Maybe if there's a psychologist in the life of the child, depending on what the issue is. But the parents will be invited for that meeting. Now, if school does not succeed in achieving the goal that they need to achieve, then they could now look at, okay, what other professional can come in, right? Now, for social work to be involved, it cannot be a school-related problem. It has to be done with what's going on at home. And whatever is going on at home, it has to be, you can't just, school cannot just turn around and say, "Oh, we want social work involved because the children come to school late." What does that mean? Right? What does, so what will social work come and do that will be different? You get where I'm coming from? So it's a case of asking, okay, what is it? So even school needs to evidence why social work is needed. You understand? So in that situation, like, I know of I'll give a particular scenario. There was a scenario of a child who school was really concerned about, right? The child would come to school and the uniforms were always dirty, right? Now, they tried to engage with mom, and mom could not understand why the school was always feeling the uniform of this child. They were always reporting that the uniform of this child is dirty. Meanwhile, because as far as she's concerned, when she's living home, the children's uniforms are always very neat. So what now tend to happen? And I remember the parent reached out to me, right? As someone away from the person didn't even know what I was doing. He just reached out to me as someone in the community, right? And then we got talking, and it turned out that the children, children being children. So mom would drop the children at school because she has to go to work. So she would drop the children first thing at school, and the other one of the children enjoyed rough and tumble. So he would do rough play and get his clothes dirty. So when mom spoke to me about it, and I said to mom, I said, "Why don't you take pictures of what the children look like, or take videos?" Because she's been fighting school non-stop. School is not believing her. She's not believing school. They're in the middle of nowhere. You understand? Because what she is saying is different from what school is saying. And they're already meeting going on and stuff. And I said, do videos. Instead of arguing with school, do videos. Evidence. The school are evidencing their own concerns. You also need to evidence yours. And guess what? Then she evidenced it. And for the first time, school took a step back and actually looked at that child. Okay, then mom said, then when they engaged with mom, their mom now described her difficulties at home, whereby that child we'll call the child in the African thing, we'll say the child is stubborn. But the child was actually not stubborn. The child is just a child that had additional needs. The child actually had autism that was not diagnosed. Right? Mom noticed that the child was just a little bit over the board. Because, African, we're very good in managing situations. You understand? So she had a very good support system. She's got her parents here who, they're very nearby. They help out and stuff. So she's done all of this for 5 solid years. The health visitor didn't pick up on it. Nobody picked up on it. She was too terrified. Although she knew that there was something not right about the child, but she was too terrified to speak to the health visitor because as far as she was concerned, the moment she said something, social work will come in and take her children away. Right? So what now happened was we talked about it and I said, okay, you tell me what is going on. She documented it and I said, okay, we'll work together and see how we can help articulate what the problem is. And then we'll look at the help that's available in school. And the moment we worked together, what now happened was she was able to draw school's attention, right? And school now provided additional need for that child. And then the things they were even picking her up for, it turned out they were all traces of autism, right? Because obviously with what she had described, because we wrote to health, me and her, we sat together, we articulated our points to health, we articulated our points to education, to everybody that was concerned. And today she's engaging with the disability social work department where they're working very closely with her. And the burden of care has been reduced from her. Because these are things that she's been doing unpaid care duty. She didn't even realize she was entitled to disability allowance because she was that terrified to speak up. Now, I'm not saying that, sorry. Yeah.
Yes, now, Wura, it seems like it's general that people, families, even myself, we are terrified of social workers or even health visitors. At the time when I had my son, I was just seeing her as a spy, coming into my privacy, into my home. What are you doing there? So what is the government or what is, the social work department doing to reassure people? Because it seems like it's a general, it's even a stigma, we would say. What is it being done for us to see you as friendly?
And make use of these services available, yes, because our kids need these things. Like when you said we were talking about immigration, I know that my kids may have had, it wouldn't be easy taking them for where they have grown up. They might have had some impact, on them, but I don't know, and now I wouldn't even know how to help them. So these are the things we need to know. How do we, with the community or our community, African community, especially those of us that have not stayed here for so long, we need to be aware of these things and how to maximize the services.
Now, thank you for that question. And I think one of the first things that we could do as a community, obviously, that was one of the reasons why we have this program, where we are trying to explain what, the stages of social work. Now, as a community, you could invite social workers, invite the health visitors, like people who are social workers. Like I'm an African, I'm a social worker. You can invite people who are social workers within the community to come speak, because if you ask questions, you can't go wrong, right? To be fair, obviously there's a lot of questioning around the host community not engaging, because I think it's very important that social workers engage with the community so that we know how things work. There are some of the things I know that personally, if I wasn't a social worker, I wouldn't know it. And there are some things I knew because obviously I'm a community activist myself. So there are a lot of things that I know, but that was because of my own curiosity of wanting to know and wanting to question things, So I think as a community, even maybe religious bodies, community, the organizations within our community, we need to start holding them accountable. If you are a community-led organization, then people are having these struggles. Invite these people, invite social workers, invite health visitors, invite police people, invite the criminal justice system, right? Because that's another thing that all of us are scared of. Again, how fair are the children, or how fair are our people when they go in front of the law? You know, if a black child is standing and a white child is standing, what are the chances that a black child will not be spotted first before a white child? So invite the police, let them engage with us, right? Let us understand, because I believe if we understand how the system works, we're able to know how it works. Then you also made a very good point, Lady Jean, when you said when the health visitor came to your house, you know, you were worried, you know, why is she coming to your private space? Why is she, you know, you perceive that to be a spy. And that's a very honest observation. Funny enough, even the white Scottish, they perceive professionals like that, particularly health visitors, because they know that if a health visitor sees anything, they will report it and it could build up. Right? So some people even make the extra effort that when health visitors are coming, they keep their house extra tidy. These are realities. Like I know, for instance, there was a particular situation where I was going to see a family. You know, they always, like, their house is not dirty. I wouldn't call it dirty, but their house is not tidy either. And why am I saying this? They've got children in the house. I think if you got into a house and you saw the house extra tidy, you should be worried. Children there.
Exactly.
Because these are realities, right? Even with me having a grown-up uncle in my house, because they said we shouldn't call them son, we shouldn't call them babies anymore, so we call them uncle. Even with a grown-up uncle in the house, well, yeah. Even with a grown-up uncle in the house, you still, you know, children will always be children. They will still not put their shoes right. They will not put, if my son is in the kitchen, yes, we know all about it. But these are realities, you know. So if you walk into a home and, like, I remember walking into that particular home and everything was fine. And, you know, and I remembered, I had to say to the parent, I said, you know, they were fidgeting. You could tell that, you know, they were like very scared. Like I think one of their children dropped a ball. You know, you could feel I could feel the anxiety. And I had to say to her, relax. I'm not going to come and police you. Relax.
The truth is that social work is policing to an extent.
Oh, because,
yeah, because your reports are what you have observed. So people want to be careful to give you the right, you know, what you would expect so that they don't get into trouble. So it has its own, would I say, good and bad? Well,
but I think on trust basis, I suppose it's very difficult to trust somebody, because the way, like I said, the way social work operates here in the Western country, right? Social work does not come into your house for no reason. There's something that has happened for social workers to come. So let's be honest, you're not going to be smiling knowing that something has happened, you know? And for you also, it's bad enough that something happened. It's bad enough that all these professionals pounced on you. And it's bad enough that, you know, they are in your space. But however, we can work closely and because a lot of times I've worked with families where their kids have been taken, and then we work together and we're able to rehabilitate the children back home. To me, that's the best feeling for me.
Yes.
Right? And also we work in a situation whereby it's done the other way around. And sometimes, you know, we're human, irrespective of whatever job we do. I've known times that things has happened and, you know, I'm driving backward and in my mind, I'm like, oh my God, have I done the right thing? Oh my God. You know, you always have that reflection. And I've gone to a situation whereby things has happened and in my head, I'm like, have I made the right decision to leave the child in that situation? You know, have I left the child in it? Is the child safe enough? Is everything safe? You know, you always, except if you're not human, you always have that feeling.
Now, you know? Maybe I'm asking you, do you have a question?
I don't think I have any more questions. Just that the bit when we asked about how we can, you know, get to know more. You said we have to have talks, invite social works and all that. But I would also, while people do that by the side, That's because we are on this program, we have heard about this and understand that social work is actually there for our good. How about people who are not even, who don't get to see a program like this and all that? I think that social work on its own, this is my suggestion, they should create an awareness as well, for people to know what is social work, how can social work benefit you. There should be more into the community, more into people to see them, not for just waiting, not for just shows like this.
Waiting for church to be taken.
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree with you, and I'm one who always advocates that the service, because we are migrants, we are not just migrants, we are taxpayers.
Mm-hmm.
And I always say, if people are making effort, if there's effort around other communities to engage them, our own community also needs to be engaged. But obviously, the onus is on us as a community to call the shots.
Mm-hmm.
Because the system will not come up to us. We have to go to the system.
Exactly.
So we need to invite them, let them come to us.
Mm-hmm.
Let us articulate our line of thought. What do we want to know? Do we want them to do like graphics way of introducing the system to us? There are different methods around it. And also, like I said, I will continue to say, our community-led organizations, we have a lot of community-led organizations doing this and doing that. They need to tell us. They need, if they are there for us, they also need to come out and invite these people. Invite us for events, invite them for events. We're having a conversation now. If we're invited for event, we'll have those conversations. We'll talk about it. People can ask questions in a safe space.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is perhaps, in my view, I think that's a way forward. Yeah.
My other question was about families who do not have recourse to public funds.
Yeah.
If you have, your child has been diagnosed with a disability, and you don't have recourse to public funds, can you still benefit the extra care or the extra fund that is available for those who have recourse to public funds?
Yeah, I think like for me, I'm not in the disability social work department because they're in different department, although I'm in children and family. But I would say when a child is born and there's identified disability, the first go-to is your health visitor. Because obviously a child with disability, there are other health professionals in the life of that child anyway. So they are able to guide on that. Because it's not just, social work is not the one who decides the funding that the children will get. Usually health, there's been situations where health has overruled and has made cases for families. Because a child who's got a lot of health complications, you can't, under the United Nations Child Rights Act, you can't leave that child in the blues. If we are upholding human rights, we need UNCHR. I think that's what it's called. I can't remember it on my head. But we have that right. Every child has a right to treatment.
Yes, I have had a first-hand experience of it. A colleague of mine who came over to study here, when she came with the child, she was just a baby. But as time progressed, and while she was still studying, it became obvious that the boy was not developing as he should. I can't remember his condition now, what is called, but the school had to pay for him to go to a special school. The government had to pay for him to go to a special school, and at a point, along with it, they had a social worker that was attached to the son. But I know that currently they have been advised to apply to be off no recourse to public funds so that they get all the other benefits for the child. Mm-hmm. But I think it was a lawyer that advised that they do that. And there was a waiver of when they applied for renewal of their fees because of that boy. They were given a certain type of visa and their fees were waived. So
Yeah.
it helps somehow. Maybe not entirely. They may have gotten more, but there is always something. That's one thing I love about Scotland. Or having been out, this is my first country where I've lived outside Nigeria. Children are really important.
Yeah. Children are very important, and I mean, we can go on and on and on and on. And I would love to always have you guys, have you guys on, and also we're also looking for more contributors, because we need to make it interactive. If I'm talking at everybody, we probably won't get this kind of rich conversation that we are getting. So I would say thank you to everybody. And in 2 weeks' time, we're looking for more people to come on board, ask questions. Please, I'm here. I'm one of us, right?
I've got another question. Yeah, Wura.
Go today.
You know how is it? The way we've been brought up is actually the way we're bringing up our children as well, because you can only give what you have, what you got. So after feeding, it's also in terms of body and corporal hygiene. So we've got this. We know that our children, after a while, they want a privacy, to keep themselves. But in the meantime, there is the way we've been brought up. For example, me in my family, we had showers from our parents to like when we were 13 years old. So they would teach you, they would still keep on helping you to shower. So
you're 13. No, I didn't get that kind of.
I got it. I was standing there. I got it. So this is what I tend to do a little bit as well, because I already warned that, okay, I will be supervising you. You can even wear swimming costume.
I think
give me a bit of food about this. So
I think for this particular question, do you mind if I hold on to it?
Okay.
For the next one, right? For the next section, because that's actually taking us to a different angle of the getting it right for every child, right? So on that basis, it's taking us to the different angle, which is respected. That's how we're looking at that. So if you don't mind, let's hold on to the question, okay?
It's okay.
Now, thanks so much for having you guys. I'm so grateful. And it's been very interesting, engaging with you. And so for the next one, obviously, we'll be talking more about health because, again, health is not just medical. There is a lot to health. So on that basis, we'll be looking for people to ask questions. Throw out questions to me. Send that question to the coordinators, and they will get the question out to me. And nice to have you guys, and see you in 2 weeks' time. Hopefully, I'll be able to have you guys again in 2 weeks' time.
Yes, we will try. We'll make sure we are here.
Oh, thank you. And happy Mother's Day in advance.
Thank you to you too. Take care.
Enjoy.
All right, take care. Bye.
Uncle as well. Uncle Joe.
I know.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Bye. Bye.
láíláí títí lọ́pẹ́ mi ò lọ́dọ̀ rẹ o bàbá. Bọ́lá o, mo fẹ́ sọ̀rọ̀ t'Olúwa ṣe nínú ayé mi. Mo fẹ́ sọ̀rọ̀ t'Olú ṣe nínú ayé mi. Lọ́dún bíi mélòó kan sẹ́yìn mo wà lẹ́gbẹ̀ẹ́ àpọ́n. Lọ́dún bíi mélòó kan sẹ́yìn mi ò láya nílé. Àmọ́ nígbà tó wáyá Ọlọ́run bá pèsè aya. Mo ní àmọ́ nígbà tó wáyá Ọlọ́run bá pèsè aya. Àwọn kan bẹ tí wọn ò lọ́kọ, àwọn kan bẹ tí wọn ò láya, àwọn kan bẹ tí wọn ò lọ́kọ, àwọn kan bẹ tí wọn ò láya. Kì í ṣe pé mo fi yọ̀ wọ́n, mo fi dúpẹ́ oore ni. Mighty kò pẹ́ tí mo láya, mo ṣègbéyàwó ó lárinrin. Mo ní kò pẹ́ tí mo láya, mo ṣègbéyàwó ó lárinrin. Bàbá bá gbé bó ṣe ń ṣe dé, ló bá fọkùnrin ta mí lọ́rẹ. Bàbá bá gbé bó ṣe ń ṣe dé, ló bá fọkùnrin ta mí lọ́rẹ. Gabriel ọlá mi pọ̀ sí, ọmọ Adébọ́lá, wádàgbà wádògbò wádẹ́tù tó lórúkọ. Dádì títí lọ́pẹ́ mi ò lọ́dọ̀ rẹ o, títí láí ó láíláí títí lọ́pẹ́ mi ò lọ́dọ̀ rẹ o bàbá. Ọlọ́pẹ́ ni mí o. Ọlọ́pẹ́ ni mí o. Ṣé fẹ́ mọ̀ di ọpẹ́ mi, ìdí tí mo fi ń dúpẹ́. Mo ní ṣé fẹ́ mọ̀ di ọpẹ́ mi, ìdí tí mo fi ń dúpẹ́. Ó dá mi sí tilétilé mi, kò jẹ́ febi pa mí. Nígbàkigbà láyékáyé wọ́n máa gbé ọ̀gá. Nígbàkigbà láyékáyé máa jọba lọ láyé mi. Ó ṣé o Jésù mi o, ó ṣé o. Títí lọ́pẹ́ mi ò lọ́dọ̀ rẹ o, títí láí ó láíláí títí lọ́pẹ́ mi ò lọ́dọ̀ rẹ o bàbá. Ẹ fi ọpẹ́ fún Olúwa nítorí tó ṣeun. Mighty ẹ fi ọpẹ́ fún Olúwa nítorí tó ṣeun. Àánú rẹ̀ kò ní pẹ̀kun, oore rẹ̀ lórí ayé mi. Mo ní àánú rẹ̀ kò ní pẹ̀kun, oore rẹ̀ lórí ayé mi. Ọkàn mi Olúwa lógo fún ààbò rẹ̀ lórí mi. Bọ́lá o, àánú rẹ̀ kò ní pẹ̀kun, oore rẹ̀ lórí ayé mi. Ọkàn mi Olúwa lógo fún ààbò rẹ̀ lórí mi. Kò jẹ́ n bóṣù tó kọjá lọ, ṣẹ́rí kó tọ́pẹ́. Oṣù tuntun wọlé bá mi láyọ̀, mo ṣọpẹ́. Oṣù tuntun wọlé bá mi láyọ̀, mo yege. Mo ṣe sọ pé títí lọ́pẹ́ mi ò lọ́dọ̀ rẹ o, títí láí dádì láíláí títí lọ́pẹ́ mi ò lọ́dọ̀ rẹ o bàbá. Títí lọ́pẹ́ mi ò lọ́dọ̀ rẹ o, títí láí láíláí títí lọ́pẹ́ mi ò lọ́dọ̀ rẹ o bàbá. Títí o, títí lọ́pẹ́ o, títí láí ẹ kú kàlẹ̀ ń bẹ̀ wo ọkùnrin obìnrin ọmọdé àti àgbà olólùfẹ́ yín ìbùkún olúwa ọmọ Sànúsí tí ẹ mọ̀ sí Àpèkẹ́ tún dé pẹ̀lú àrà ọ̀tọ̀ àlọ́ tó kún fún ọgbọ́n òye àti ọ̀rọ̀ ìjìnlẹ̀ Yorùbá ẹ máa bá wa ká lọ àṣà Yorùbá kò mọ̀ ní parun.
Ẹ kúlẹ̀ ọjọ́ mẹ́ta à ń bá ìtàn àkàrà ògùn bọ̀. A ti parí ìrìn àjò ẹ̀ ní àárín àwọn omi. Ìrìn àkọ́kọ́ tó bá pàdé, ìyá ẹ̀ ti wá gbà sílẹ̀, ìyá ẹ̀ ti darí ẹ̀ sí ọ̀nà ibi tí ó gbà jáde kúrò ní àárín àwọn omi. Ìyá ẹ̀ sì ti sọ fún wípé yóò bá ọdẹ mìíràn pàdé. Ọdẹ mìíràn tó bá pàdé ní orúkọ rẹ̀ ń jẹ́ Lámọrí. A ó bẹ̀rẹ̀ ìtàn àkàrà àti Lámọrí. Nígbà tí ó tó bí wákàtí kan, mo jáde sínú ìwé ìsìnkú. Mo mú òkúta mi, mo fi sínú àpò ọdẹ nítorí láti ìgbà tí ìyá ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí jẹ mí, ìbọn mi àti àpò ọdẹ mi ò kúrò lọ́wọ́ mi. Jáde tí mo sì jáde náà, ọkùnrin kan tí orúkọ rẹ̀ ń jẹ́ Lámọrí ní bá pàdé. Ọkùnrin náà ti ṣì í sẹ́gun gbẹ̀yìn láti ọdún mẹ́ta. Nígbà tí ó rí mi, ó yọ̀ dé ìmúdùmúdù tí ń bẹ nínú gbogbo rẹ̀ nítorí pé aládùúgbò mi ní jẹ́ ní ilé. Èmi àti Lámọrí kí ara wa, olúkúlùkù sì sọ ohun tí ojú ti rí sẹ́yìn. Ojú mi kò rí nǹkan lára tí Lámọrí rí o nítorí pé òun ti ṣìnà, kò sì fi ojú kan ilé. Àwa méjì jùmọ̀ ń lọ, a sì dé ojú odò kù. Bí a ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí odò yìí kàńtọ̀, ní a rí ọkùnrin títóbi kan níwájú wa. Ó gbé àpò ńlá kan kó apá, ó sì wà ní ìhòòhò gidigbi. Lọ́wọ́ rẹ̀ ni a rí orí kìnìún ńlá kan tí ó ń jẹ. Bí ó sì ti rí wa, ó sọ orí kìnìún náà sílẹ̀. Ó ń bọ̀ lọ́dọ̀ wa. Wéré Lámọrí ké, ó sọ fún mi pé eré yá. Nígbà tí mo sì béèrè ìdí rẹ̀ tí ó fi sọ bẹ́ẹ̀, ó fún mi pé ọkùnrin tí èmi ń wò ní Ìjàmbá ni orúkọ rẹ̀ ń jẹ́. Òun ni ó sì bí àdánù tí máa ń gbé ilé kòríjẹkòrímu. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni a bá ẹsẹ̀ wa sọ̀rọ̀, òun náà sì sá tẹ̀lé wa. Láìpẹ́ n kò rí Lámọrí mọ́, kò sì gbúròó Ìjàmbá. Mo yára ságun igi kan lọ, tèmi ti ìbọn àti àpò ọdẹ mi. Wọ́n wo ìgbà tí wọ́n gbúròó ọ̀kan nínú wọn. Kò tí ì pẹ́ tí mo dé orí igi yìí tí mo rí Ìjàmbá tí ó ń bọ̀ lápá ọ̀dọ̀ mi. Ó ń wo ẹ̀yìn, wo ọ̀hún, ń wá ipa kiri. Nígbà tí ó dé ọ̀kan kan ọ̀dọ̀ mi, ó bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí í sọ báyìí pé hey, orí mi o, orí mi, àwọn kòkòrò sísanra yìí lọ gbà. Kí ni wọ́n ò jẹ lọ sùn lónìí? Orí mi o. Bí ti sọ báyìí tó ń gbé ojú wòkè, orí mi, inú rẹ̀ dùn, ó sì náwó rẹ̀ gígùn ni. Ó mú mi, ó sọ mí sínú àpò rẹ̀, ó gbé mi kó apá wọn lọ. Mo dákẹ́ gbàá, ṣùgbọ́n ìbọn mi ń bẹ lọ́wọ́ mi nínú àpò rẹ̀. Mo fi ọ̀tá ńlá sí ìbọn náà, mo sì kì í dáadáa. Mo gbé tí mo ń sinmi. Nígbà tí mo sinmi tán, wọ́n yí ìlú ní àtàrí, ó sì ṣubú rẹ̀ ó kú. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni mo rí ẹ̀yìn ọkùnrin tí ń jẹ́ Ìjàmbá yìí. Ó sì ké sí Lámọrí. Ilé ìrúkọ láti Ìjàmbá gbé ìlú Lámọrí ti ta. Ibẹ̀ ni a sùn. Bí a ti nígbà tí ó sì bù bí òkèlè méjìlá oúnjẹ, oúnjẹ ti bù sí oúnjẹ ti tó. Eléyìí bí mi nínú, mo sì rọra gbé apẹ fífọ́ tí a fi ṣe àrò tí ó sì gbóná girigiri, mo là á kó lọ́rùn. Ó dìde, ó sì kìlọ̀. Nígbà tí ó di ọjọ́ kejì, a bá ìkòkò náà lọ́rùn ìrókòkò. Ṣùgbọ́n bí ìkòkò ọrùn ọkùnrin náà ṣe dé ọrùn igi yìí, gbé rẹ̀ yà mí lẹ́nu. A sùn lálẹ́ ọjọ́ yìí. Nígbà tí ó sì di òwúrọ̀ ọjọ́ kejì, èmi àti Lámọrí kí ara wa, a jẹun, a gbé ìbọn, olúkúlùkù sì bá tirẹ̀ lọ àwọn ẹran kiri. Bí mo ti rìn díẹ̀ ni mo rí ọkùnrin ẹlẹ́sẹ̀ kan. Ó sùn sí ìyá igi, ó fi ọ̀pá rẹ̀ tì. Mo rọra lọ sí ibi tí ọ̀pá náà wà. Mo dìímú, fẹ́ rọra mú kúrò ní ọ̀dọ̀ rẹ̀ kí n wá wo bí yóò ti ṣe rìn nígbà tí ó bá jí. Ṣùgbọ́n bí mo ti fi ọwọ́ kan ọ̀pá náà ní nǹkan kan ké láti inú rẹ̀ wá. Wéré ọkùnrin yìí sì jí. Ṣùgbọ́n kí ó tó paradà tán, mo ti mú ọ̀pá sálọ, mo dúró lókèrè. Mo rẹ́rìn-ín pé ọwọ́ bà. Ó bẹ̀ mí títí, ṣùgbọ́n kò fi ọ̀pá náà sílẹ̀ àfìgbà tó ṣèlérí àti fún mi ní oògùn ẹran pípa. Ó sọ báyìí pé, èmi ní àárọ̀ ni irin tí ó ní ẹsẹ̀ kan ṣoṣo. Ibi kìí tán ní ilé mi, bẹ́ẹ̀ ni ire kìí tán ní ibẹ̀. Mo jẹ́ ògbójú irin búburú tí ó kọ àṣẹ Ọlọ́run. Ọba ńlá Sólómọ́nì bá mi wí, èmi ò gbọ́. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni mo gbéraga níwájú Ọlọ́run tó bẹ́ẹ̀ tí ó fi nà mí, tó sì sọ mí di ẹlẹ́ṣẹ̀. Mo gbé ìwọ̀n ẹgbẹ̀rún ọdún ní ayé. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni ìwà mi ń bá mi lọ tó bẹ́ẹ̀ tí Ọlọ́run sọ ní ìbínú rẹ̀ pé, èmi yóò fi ọ́ sílẹ̀ fún ara rẹ títí ìyà yóò fi jẹ ọ́ láti wọ̀. Ẹni tí ilé rẹ̀ ń bẹ ní ìsàlẹ̀ ọ̀run, tí ikú ni mo ń dúró dè báyìí o. Nítorí náà, mú ọ̀pá mi fún mi, èmi yóò ṣe ọ́ ní rere. Àánú rẹ̀ ṣe mí nígbà tí mo gbọ́ ọ̀rọ̀ tí ó sọ yìí. Mo sì mú ọ̀pá rẹ̀ fún un. Lẹ́yìn eléyìí ó fún mi ní oògùn kan. Ó ní kí n máa bù lé ojú ẹsẹ̀ àwọn ẹranko àti pé ẹrankẹ́ran tí mo bá bu oògùn náà lé ojú ẹsẹ̀ rẹ̀ yóò wá kú síbi tí mo bù lé. Mo dán oògùn yìí wò. Ó jẹ́ bí iná. Ṣùgbọ́n n kò lò nígbà gbogbo nítorí tí mo bẹ̀rù kí ó má bàa tètè tán. Bí mo ti kúrò lọ́dọ̀ ìwé yìí, tí mo rìn síwájú díẹ̀ ní mo rí abàmì ẹ̀dá kan tí kò ga ju ẹsẹ̀ bàtà méjì lọ, tí ó sì ní orí méjì àti ìwo méjì. Ọ̀kọ̀ọ̀kan ní orí kọ̀ọ̀kan. Ojú kan ṣoṣo ni ó ní. Ọ̀kan náà sì ń bẹ ní ọkàn àyà rẹ̀. Nígbà tí mo rí i, mo kí ó sì dá mi lóhùn dáadáa. Ohùn rẹ̀ sì yé kétékété nítorí pé ẹnu méjì ni ó fi ń sọ̀rọ̀ pọ̀ lẹ́ẹ̀kan ṣoṣo. Mo béèrè pé níbo ni ìwọ ti wá, níbo ni ìwọ ń lọ? Òun sì dá mi lóhùn pé èrè ìdí rẹ̀ tí ìwọ fi ń wádìí. Èmi náà sì tún dá lóhùn pé mo rí bí ìwọ ti kúrú tó kú sí. Ó yẹ pé orí méjì ni ìwọ ń gbé kiri. Mo sì dáhùn pé lóòótọ́ orí méjì ni èmi ní. Ó sì kúrú jọjọ. Èmi ni kúrúmbete, ẹni tí ilé rẹ̀ ń bẹ ní ọ̀run alákejì. Mo ti jẹ́ ọ̀kan nínú àwọn màlẹ́kà ní tí Ọlọ́run fẹ́ràn. Ṣùgbọ́n mo kọ̀ òfin Ọlọ́run àti ìlànà rẹ̀, mo sì dá rúdurùdu sílẹ̀ ní ọ̀run. Ọlọ́run rí i pé mo le àti pé ọgbọ́n inú mi búburú ni. Ó sì fi mí fún èṣù kí ó jẹ mí ní ìyà ní ọdún 7. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni mo gbé inú iná ọ̀run àpáàdì ní ọdún 7 gbáko. Mo padà tọ̀ Ọlọ́run wá ní ọdún 7. Ọlọ́run sì rí i pé kò sí ìyípadà rere lára mi. Ó wí ní ìbínú rẹ̀ pé, ìwọ ń yọ mí lẹ́nu, ìwọ ìrà. Ìwọ ń tàpá sí mi, ìwọ tí kò ju kò tó nǹkan lọ. Lónìí yìí ni èmi yóò pín orí rẹ̀ sí méjì. Èmi kò sì ní jẹ́ kí èdè rẹ̀ ṣọ̀kan mọ́. Wọ́n ó dá ọ ní èdè rú mo ti ṣe sí àwọn ará ilé ìṣọ́ Bábélì ní ọjọ́ tí wọ́n gbéraga sí mi. Èmi yóò sì sọ sínú igbó. Ìwọ ó di alárìnkiri ní ọjọ́ ayé rẹ̀. Ìwọ kì yóò sì sinmi títí ọmọ aráyé yóò fi dá ẹrù gbèsè ọ lára. Àti ọjọ́ náà rèé o, ìwọ dẹ rere. Nítorí náà mo bẹ̀ kí o gbóòrò pẹ̀lẹ́ kí o sì dá sí mi lára, nítorí ìrìnkiri yìí sú mi. Àánú rẹ̀ ṣe mí, mo sì dẹrù pẹ̀lú. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni ó sì di òkúta ńlá kan tí dúró sí ojú kan títí ayé. Lẹ́yìn èyí àwọn ìwọ̀n yìí ti tẹ́ lójú mi, kò sì bẹ̀rù mi mọ́. Mo bá tèmi kiri. Bí mo ti rìn káàkiri nínú igbó yìí ni mo dédé bá obìnrin arẹwà kan pàdé. Ó wù mí gidigidi. Mo kí ọ náà sì kí mi. Mo bẹ̀rẹ̀ bí ó ti ṣe dé àárín aginjù bí irú èyí, ṣùgbọ́n kò dá mi lóhùn. Níkẹyìn mo bẹ̀ kí ó ṣe ìyàwó mi, ṣùgbọ́n kò sí mi lẹ́nu. Mo bẹ̀ títí kò gbà, mo sì dẹ́rù bá wípé bí kò bá gbà láti fẹ́ mi, èmi yóò yin ìbọn. Ṣùgbọ́n dá mi lóhùn pé ìbọn mi kò lè rí òun léṣe. Ní inú bí mi, mo dá ojú ìbọn mi kọ́, mo sì ní sí i. Ṣùgbọ́n ìbọn dún ṣáá ni ọ̀tá kan ò jáde. Lẹ́yìn èyí ó wò mí títí ó wípé bí kò ṣe àánú rẹ̀ tí ó ṣe mí lóye, mi ìbá pa ọ́ lẹ́ẹ̀kan ṣoṣo. Èmi náà sì dáhùn pé kò lè pa mí lára. Obìnrin náà sì kọjú sí ọ̀nà tirẹ̀ mú lọ. Ẹwà rẹ̀ tó fà mí mo tẹ̀lé, mo sì dí ní ọrùn ọwọ́ mú. Ló sì ti wò mí lójú, ṣubú lulẹ̀, ó sì di igi ńlá. Ṣùgbọ́n mo di igi náà mú síbẹ̀ nítorí obìnrin náà wù mí pọ̀. Lẹ́yìn èyí ni mo rí tí igi náà yí padà tí ó sì di àgbọ̀nrín tí ó ti wó lórí ṣáráṣárá. Ṣùgbọ́n mo dì í mú síbẹ̀. Ó jà títí ṣùgbọ́n mo dì í mú gbẹ̀ngbẹ̀ng. Láìpẹ́ ó tún yí padà, ó di iná ìléru tí ń jó. Ṣùgbọ́n kò fi sílẹ̀, bẹ́ẹ̀ ni iná náà kò sì jó mi. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni ó bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí padà títí ó tún fi di obìnrin arẹwà bíi ti àtijọ́. Nítorí tí ó tún di ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ nǹkan, ó di ẹyẹ ńlá, ó di omi, ó sì di ejò ńlá kan, ṣùgbọ́n mo dì í mú, mo sì dì í mú dọindọin ni. Níkẹyìn tí ó di obìnrin bíi ti àtijọ́, ó wò mí, sì rẹ́rìn-ín músẹ́ wípé èmi yóò fẹ́ ọ, ìwọ ògbójú ọdẹ. Ó sì fẹ́ mi, a sì gbé ara wa ní ìyàwó. Lámọrin ni ó ṣe àlùfáà fún mi. Mo ṣe àsè ńlá ní ọjọ́ náà, ọ̀rọ̀ náà sì dùn gidigidi. Nígbà tí ènìyàn gbé imi níyẹ̀wò, taráyé tará ọ̀run jẹun. Èmi àti Lámọrin jẹ́ ọ̀rẹ́, a sì fẹ́ràn ara wa púpọ̀, kò sì fẹ́ ya ara wa rárá. Ní ọjọ́ kan a jọ múra lọ sí ìgbẹ́ òde, ilẹ̀ sì ṣú wa sí ọ̀nà. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni epo tán nínú àtùpà wa, ṣùgbọ́n òṣùpá dàbí ọ̀sán. Nígbà tí ó pẹ́ tí a ti rìn káàkiri nínú òṣùpá yìí, a dé ibi òkúta ńlá kan tí ó tóbi púpọ̀ tí ó sì ní àwọn ihò ńláńlá nínú. Gbogbo ọ̀nà tí ó lọ sínú àwọn ihò náà ń dán koro. Lámọrin sọ pé òun fẹ́ lọ sùn nínú ọ̀kan nínú àwọn ihò yìí. Mo sì sọ fún pé kí ó má lọ, ṣùgbọ́n ó lọ dandan. Nígbà tí mo rí i pé ó lọ tán, mo yára ságun orí igi ńlá kan lọ, mò ń wo ojú ayé. Lápẹ́ ni mo rí ọkùnrin tó tóbi kan, ó ní ojú mẹ́rin àti apá mẹ́fà, ó sì ní ìwo méjì lórí ṣaraṣara. Ó jáde láti inú ihò àpáta lóòrùn, ó gbé ẹ̀jẹ̀ sínú igbá fífọ́ kan, ó gbé wá sí ìdí igi kan tí ń bẹ níwájú òkúta náà wípé, "O ṣeun lónìí o olúwa mi, mo mọ̀ pé agbára rẹ ní ẹran báyìí fi tọ̀ mí wá sí ilé mi. Jẹ́ kí n máa rí irú eléyìí nígbà gbogbo. Mo dúpẹ́ o." Èyí tí mo rí rèé o. Mo dúró títí ilẹ̀ fi mọ́, ṣùgbọ́n Lámọrin kò jáde. Nígbà tí ó di òwúrọ̀ ọjọ́ kejì, mo ké sí Lámọrin ṣùgbọ́n kò dá mi lóhùn. Mo bá sọ̀kalẹ̀ mi lọ sí ibùdó mi, mo sì sọ fún ìyàwó mi. Ìyàwó mi pàápàá, níwọ̀n bí òun náà kì í ti ṣe ara ayé, ó ti yára mọ ohun tí ó ní láti ṣẹlẹ̀ sí Lámọrin. Ó dáhùn pé, ọkùnrin tí ìwọ rí ni Tẹ́ńbẹ́lẹ́kún ní orúkọ rẹ̀ ń jẹ́. Ẹ̀gbọ́n rẹ̀ sì ni ẹni tí ń jẹ́ Bìlísì, ẹni tí ilé rẹ̀ ń bẹ ní ọgbùn ẹ̀ nísàlẹ̀, níbi tí wọ́n gbé bí ìyá mi. Tẹ́ńbẹ́lẹ́kún ni ó fẹ́ àbúrò mi, wọ́n sì bí ọmọkùnrin kan, orúkọ ẹni tí ń jẹ́ Ìdàrúdàpọ̀. Ọmọ náà sì dàgbà, ó wá iṣẹ́ orí iṣẹ́ lábẹ́ Èṣù tí í ṣe ọba ìlú ọ̀run àpáàdì. Mo gbọ́ pé Ìdàrúdàpọ̀ múra sí iṣẹ́ ipò rẹ̀ náà wá sì di ńlá. Ó sì dùn mí pé òun ni ó jẹ́ olórí àwọn ẹni tí ń gbé epo sí iná ọ̀run àpáàdì lákòókò yìí. Ohun kan tí ó kọ́ mi ní ìríra fún àwọn tí ó ń bá ṣiṣẹ́ ní ọ̀run àpáàdì ni pé abibi wọn a máa dúdú ju àrùn lọ, ìka inú wọn a sì máa pọ̀ ju ti ọ̀bùn. Nítorí náà ìwọ ọkọ mi, mo rò pé Lámọrin ti bọ́ sí ọwọ́ Tẹ́ńbẹ́lẹ́kún, nítorí Tẹ́ńbẹ́lẹ́kún kì í jẹ iṣu, bẹ́ẹ̀ ni kì í jẹ àgbàdo, ẹran ènìyàn ní jẹ. Mà ṣe o. Nígbà tí ó sọ̀rọ̀ wọ̀nyí tán, omijé bọ́ lójú mo sì sọkún mo ké títí ohùn mi fi gba gbogbo igbó kan. Mo bú ramúramù bí kìnìún, ṣùgbọ́n gbogbo igbe mi mú ọ̀rẹ́ mi padà. Láti ìgbà tí ìyá mi ti yọ mí kúrò ní ibi ìyàmú tí mo wà ní, tí mo sì ti dé ọ̀dọ̀ Lámọrin, ọkàn mi kò tún lọ sí ilé mọ́. Ìgbọràn mọ̀lẹ́ dùn mọ́ mi, ṣùgbọ́n nígbà tí Lámọrin sì tún ti kú tán níbẹ̀, ìgbẹ́ tún sú mi, mo sì bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí wá ọ̀nà àti lọ sí ilé. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni ìrìn àjò Lámọrin ṣe parí o, pẹ̀lú àkàrà ògùn, ṣùgbọ́n ìrìn àjò àkàrà ògùn kò tíì tán. Títí ọ̀sẹ̀ tó ń bọ̀ tí màá tún mú ìmí wá fún wa. Apekeade lorúkọ mi, Apekeade lorúkọ mi o. Ó ti gbà kan náà.
Ẹ kú kàlẹ̀ ń bẹ̀ wo ọkùnrin, obìnrin, ọmọdé àti àgbà, olólùfẹ́ yín Ìbùkún Olúwa ọmọ Sànúsí tí ẹ mọ̀ sí Àpèkẹ́ tún dé pẹ̀lú àrà ọ̀tọ̀ àlọ́ tó kún fún ọgbọ́n, òye àti ọ̀rọ̀ ìjìnlẹ̀ Yorùbá. Ẹ máa bá wa ká lọ. Àṣà Yorùbá kò mọ̀ nípa rẹ̀.
Sẹ́kún fún mi mọ́. Ayọ̀ lógún mi kù, ẹ wá bá mi yọ̀, ìdẹ̀ra ti dé. Sẹ́kún fún mi mọ́. Ayọ̀ lógún mi kù, ẹ wá bá mi yọ̀, ìdẹ̀ra ti dé. Sẹ́kún fún mi mọ́. Ayọ̀ lógún mi kù, ẹ wá bá mi yọ̀, ìdẹ̀ra ti dé. Mo kọ̀wé ẹ̀bẹ̀ sọ́lọ́run ọba. Olùgbàlà gba lẹ́tà mi kà, olúborí borí ọ̀tá mi pátápátá. Mo kọ̀wé ẹ̀bẹ̀ sọ́lọ́run ọba. Olùgbàlà gba lẹ́tà mi kà, olúborí borí ọ̀tá mi pátápátá. Hallelujah, mo ti gbáre mú. Ire ọlá tó wọlé mi kò tún jáde mọ́ láyé. Hallelujah, mo ti gbáre mú. Ire owó tó wọlé mi kò tún jáde mọ́ láyé. Àṣekárẹ́ ní bárìn lọ́la fi ń yá. Ẹni kò kú ẹ̀ báyé nínú oko, ṣóun lágbẹ̀rù kò bọ́dún dé. Tígi tọpẹ níwó koko kó tó di kó digi ọlá. Bí ṣiṣẹ́ bá dàbí ọ̀lẹ, ayé ẹ̀ má bá wí, áńgẹ́lì ẹnu etí dé. Gbàrà táńgẹ́lì ẹ̀ bá wọlé dé tán, iṣẹ́ tó ti ṣe tẹ́lẹ̀tẹ́lẹ̀ tán ò mọ̀mọ́ rárá. Àwa dàbí idán lójú ọmọ adarí mu. Hallelujah, mo ti gbáre mú. Ire owó tó wọlé mi kò tún jáde mọ́ láyé. Ó mú mi rántí ìgbà kan, ìgbà tó ìṣògo rárá. Oríṣiríṣi àmọ̀ràn ló ń wọlé. Àwọn kan sọ̀sọ̀kúsọ, wọ́n ń tutù kùtù. Wọ́n ní kí wá ṣẹ́kọ́, mo bá fún wọn lésì pé kìràkìtà dọ́là ṣẹ́kọ́ lówó. Àwọn kan tilẹ̀ wá bá mi, wọ́n ní mo lè mèrè ṣe, mo lè mórí kọ́, ṣùgbọ́n kì í ṣọ̀nà mi, abẹ́tà kí wá ṣẹ́kọ́. Mo bá fún wọn lésì nínú orílẹ̀ Apekeade, ó fi yé mi wípé iṣẹ́ ríran mi ni mò ń ṣe. Iṣẹ́ ríran mi ni mò ń ṣe o, ẹni bá jalè ló gbọ́mọ jẹ́. Iṣẹ́ ríran mi ni mò ń ṣe. Iṣẹ́ ríran mi ni mò ń ṣe o, ẹni bá jalè ló gbọ́mọ jẹ́. Ẹni bá jalè ló gbọ́mọ. Ẹni bá jalè ló gbọ́mọ jẹ́. Ló gbọ́mọ jẹ́. Ẹni bá jalè ló gbọ́mọ jẹ́. Ẹni bá jalè ló gbọ́mọ jẹ́. Ẹni bá jalè ló gbọ́mọ jẹ́. Èèyàn tó jalè ló gbọ́mọ jẹ́. Ẹni bá jalè ló gbọ́mọ jẹ́. Ẹni bá jalè ló gbọ́mọ. Ẹni bá jalè ló gbọ́mọ jẹ́.
Thank you very much for joining us for the broadcast today on OY Media Scotland. Remember that our program comes on Saturdays and Sundays. So tomorrow, that is Sunday, the 14th of March, 2021, we will be right back here. And the time is going to be at 5:40. 5:40 tomorrow, we'll be right back here, just like every other Sunday. And remember, on Saturdays, we always come on at 2:55. That's about 5 minutes to 3 p.m. If you have any question or comment on any of the program that we run on here, please do not hesitate to send such questions or clarifications to me. Our email is oymediascotland@outlook.com. oymediascotland@outlook.com. Also, we've got a page on Facebook and also on YouTube. So you could also drop it there. I'll pick it up. And that brings us to the end of today's program. Do enjoy the rest of the week, and I'll catch up with you tomorrow at 5:40. Do stay safe. And for our women, happy Women's Day, which is the one that's just passed some few days back. And of course, happy Mother's Day also. We'll catch up with you tomorrow. God bless.